All right. Hey, welcome everybody. We are back. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
I hope everybody had a joyful Christmas and Happy New Year and safe and with the families and all that stuff. So we're back. We're going to hit 2023 with on the ground running, as they say. Welcome, Kent. And of course, welcome back, Mary Beth.
Hello.
Always. And welcome everybody who is joining us online. So tonight we are doing kind of a little, again, out of our normal area. We're doing all 5 of the original Planet of the Apes movies. Brain fart for a second. What are we doing?
What are we doing?
Planet of the Apes. And hey, welcome, Martin.
Hi, Martin. Happy New Year. Are you feeling better, Martin? I heard you had COVID.
Well, he can't answer you right
He can't
now.
answer. He can type.
Sure. HIPAA violation.
No, he can talk about himself.
It's true. Well, she's asking though. Anyway, we're way off topic. Anyway, before we get into these films, Mary Beth has some news.
I have news. The first news. I have a lot of news tonight. I will try to go as fast as I can through it. But the first news of the evening is Planet of the Apes news. And this is a little bit old news. Back in September, they had announced the next Planet of the Apes would be Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. And they announced that Freya Allen, I love the name Freya. Freya Allen plays Ciri on The Witcher. She's the little blonde girl. She was going to star in Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. And they also reported that Peter Macon had joined the cast. Peter Macon plays Bortus on The Orville. They were in the cast. That was back in September. Production and principal photography did start in October in Australia. And so now the tentative release date is May 24, 2024. So
That's
more Planet of the Apes coming. In other news, The Bad Batch. Yay! It's out. There's already everything you missed in the first episodes. That released today. Super excited for that. The Mandalorian is coming March 1, and all the other good stuff will be following shortly thereafter.
Mando. Very, very excited about Mando.
Very excited about Mando. Star Wars is just killing it.
Killing it.
Andor was interesting. It's certainly not my favorite.
Really? I loved it.
Because you know why? Because it's grown up. It's grown up.
I was so
that must
happy
be
to
it,
have
Rizzo.
Star Wars
Thanks.
without an Ewok, not a Jar Jar, not an animated puppet anywhere to be seen.
Well, it also gets
I like Skarsgård.
Nitty gritty, the darker side of Rebellion.
I do.
Yes.
I love Skarsgård. Anything he's in, I will watch.
Yes.
I'm not a fan of the character Andor or the actor.
They will do Andor.
We can do the first season of Andor. We can do it before the second season comes out.
Yeah, maybe we'll do that.
In the meantime, over on the Star Trek side of things, the much touted Picard season 3 is going to kick off February 16, and that's literally all we know. We know Strange New Worlds will be back, and we know that there will be more Lower Decks, and we know that there's going to be a Strange New World Lower Deck crossover. But the exact time frame for all of this is still really fuzzy. So.
What's the word on Disco? Are they going to do another?
Disco might be back in November. Oh, and the Trek movie, Star Trek 4, which they told us yes, then they told us no, then they told us yes, and then they're like, nope, definitely no. As of 2 days ago, Trek movie was still saying maybe yes. There's so much yes, no on a possible Star Trek 4 with like Pine and Quinto and those guys that it has its own wiki page, development of Star Trek 4, its own Wikipedia page, because it just.
Why do I feel like they're heading for another reboot?
They need one.
I mean, well, the thing is, again, I don't want to get off too topic, but casting was okay. It was just stories were
rough. Yeah.
And the 57 Chevy.
JJ the hell out of here and redo the Enterprise so it looks normal instead of that.
They still keep teasing maybe a Section 31 show, but they never seem to get that together.
Well, that's a secret.
Well, that's right. That's why they had to get Michelle Yeoh back.
Yeah, she went Witcher Blood Origin, which I tried to watch and it did not hold my attention. But anyway, moving on.
I only watched the first episode of it.
Yeah, it just didn't do it for me. Moving on, Avatar: The Way of Water climbed to 1.3 billion worldwide, making it the highest grossing movie, definitely of the year, and probably of all time.
I've heard some kind of.
I've heard mixed reviews.
Not so great reviews on it, which didn't surprise me because I didn't like the first one.
1899, the German sci-fi mystery piece by the creators of Dark, which I know you were watching Dark, Rizzo, has already been canceled by Netflix.
Oh God.
They just got it out.
What was
it?
it?
Not 1899. It was not as well received as Dark, but it was largely well reviewed. And the fans liked it, and they're already speculating.
Yeah, I didn't watch it because, again, I've said several times on this show, Dark is a perfect. It's a good cure for insomnia. If you sit through the show, if you don't fall asleep,
if Dark is that bad, I bet 1899.
I think the story was okay. I think it was the presentation of it that was very slow. And again, maybe it was just a German thing. Maybe it was the way the director is. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Anyway,
Fantastic Beasts flopped, and the original cast will not come back for the cursed child. So how's Warner Brothers going to continue to milk its biggest cash cow, Harry Potter? They're going to reboot the whole mess. According to rumor, there are indeed plans for a massive Harry Potter franchise reboot. It's still a couple of years off, but it's hinted that this might be like, it could be all the books animated, or all the books told from a different point of view.
Oh God.
That was exactly my reaction. I was like,
they're trying to make money.
Because
of course.
Stranger Things fans are impatiently waiting for the 5th and final season, but in the meantime, reports are circulating that the Duffer Brothers are spearheading a spin-off, an animated spin-off called Stranger Things Tokyo, which will be following some twins in Tokyo. Okay, whatever, knock yourselves out, have fun. The upcoming HBO Max Velma show has been developed as an adult animated spin-off of Scooby-Doo. Has a premiere date of January 12th. So just a couple more days from now, 8 more days from now. This Scooby-Doo spinoff is going to tell the origin story of Velma Dinkley. I'm not going to lie, I might check that out. I kind of like Velma.
If it's adult, guarantee she's gay.
Oh yeah, she's gay. We know
they've already established that.
I enjoy Velma.
They never said it in the cartoon.
They have now, though.
Oh.
Moving on, as I try to wrap up, I got 1, 2, 3 more news pieces here. Fans are freaking out over the new Flash costume, claiming it's a recycled Tim Burton batsuit. Is it? I don't know. Do I care? No, not really. The Flash movie is due to hit theaters June 16th, starring Ezra Miller, Michael Keaton as Batman, and Ben Affleck as Batman. Should be interesting. Oh, it also has Michael Shannon as General Zod. He played Zod in Man of Steel.
Yeah.
And if you like Michael Shannon, check out the movie Bug. It's really interesting. And Tamura Morrison, better known as Jango Fett, as Aquaman's father. Supposedly he has a cameo in this thing too.
So they're gonna do Flashpoint and have alternate Batmans. That
I don't know what they're gonna do.
I predicted it.
Right now I'm not happy with James Gunn. Like, I'm not happy with the whole. Like, I was mad when he booted Henry Cavill. Like, I'm not happy with DC right now.
Yeah, so, evidently the Rock isn't happy with him either.
And The Rock isn't happy either. And Ezra,
he's going to be unhappy with DC.
Ezra is problematical.
It's easy to be unhappy with DC. Oh, the other, well, I'll leave that for another time. Hugh Jackman. We're all excited, waiting for Hugh to reprise his role as Wolverine in the next Deadpool movie. But in the meantime, January 9, which is 5 days from now, Hulu premieres his next superhero character. It's Koala Man, an animated comedy series from the same guy that does Rick and Morty, Justin Roiland. It is the high concept craziness of Rick and Morty, like an Adult Swim show with a distinct Down Under flavor. So that's that. And finally, you guys know that Jeremy Renner, best known as Hawkeye at the from the MCU, was injured severely enough to be airlifted to a local hospital following a snowplow accident. What apparently happened? This is according to one of like the Hollywood Reporter or one of those. What apparently happened was either his car or his neighbor's car got stuck in the snow, like right near his house. And so he was like, hang on, hold tight. I'm going to go get my snowplow. His snowplow is a piston bully. This is a massive snowcat with giant treads. It's 14,000 pounds. It's it's heavy equipment.
So,
like
so the story for that is they live on a private road that the county and the state won't.
So he probably plows it himself. Yes.
So he plows it himself with this massive snowcat.
Yes. So he did get the stuck car out. Good for you. He got out of this piston bully to talk to the person. And then the bully started to roll. And in an effort to stop the bully, he ran back to it and tried to climb up to get back in the driver's seat. I don't know the exact details. Maybe his clothing got caught in those treads. I don't know. But at that point, he was run over. He was run over by the piston.
It's been a weird week. We had the football player whose name is Kate.
Yeah, Damon.
And then Ken Block, the rally car ride, died in a freak
heart attack. Yeah.
Yeah, Ken Block was of my age, and the guy was like, he played a car like an instrument. I mean, if you've ever seen any of his videos, the guy was unbelievable.
Was he the steak?
Look up his. What's that?
Was he the steak? Never mind.
No, he
is the steak.
Sorry.
Anyway. All right. We done?
That's it. Rizzo, what are your New Year's resolutions and what do we have to
drink? I don't do New Year's resolutions because why bother?
Mine is to read more if anyone wants to do a book exchange with me.
We do have a drink, though, and I think this one fits because, it's bananas and, banana daiquiri. As my mother would say, a daiquiri. She was from England.
Bullies need to be stopped. It's a piston bully.
She's from where, Rizzo?
My mother-in-law was from England.
No kidding.
She became a citizen in the United States, but most of her life was, well, I shouldn't say most, until she was a adult. She moved to the United States.
Cool.
So she would say, "I would like a daiquiri."
Color me shocked, and I know this isn't our wheelhouse, but Yellowstone, Beth Dutton, the blonde fire cat that they have on that show, she's English. Like wicked Hugh Laurie English.
That was like the first time the guy that plays Rick on Walking Dead, same thing. And they saw him in an interview and he's talking in this heavy British accent, and you're like, when he played he played a Georgia sheriff.
It's like hearing Tom Holland in his native accent. You're like, wait a minute.
Yeah, a lot of I've always found that British people play Americans better than Americans play British.
Yeah, they really do.
Yes, definitely.
They really do.
They get our accent better than we get there. So anyway,
Mark's here, Sue is here, John Haig is here. Hi, Carlo.
Yeah, hey everybody. If I haven't mentioned you, welcome.
Do the sets still stand, Carlo? I have no idea. I bet not.
For Planet of the Apes, yes. I don't think so.
Dennis is here.
They filmed some of it at Vasquez Rocks, didn't they?
Chris is here. Hi.
Probably, yeah. I think some of the more desert-like scenes.
There's a Star Trek connection.
So this obviously
Jamie Barber's Brit.
Yeah. So 1968, this movie premiered. It was a massive hit. It launched a franchise. Now I don't know of any, or I shouldn't say any. There are some, but there aren't many films that have 5 or 4 sequels.
Not cranked out the way these.
The only thing I could think of was like Police Academy or Fast and Furious.
Yeah.
Oh, Fast and Furious is up to like 12 now, right?
Yeah. So I'm like, it's pretty rare. It's pretty rare that you have a film that spawns so many, and not just, and they're all connected. It wasn't just like, in the same, they're spin-off movies or whatever. Right. These were like all connected.
Oh yeah, actually they did a really good job attempting to keep
the connection. Yeah,
especially after issues, but they tried.
So especially after Beneath, we're gonna, just so you know, guys, this is kind of we have no rhyme or reason. We'll kind of go through in chronological
should we
order.
run through the 5 plots now?
Well, you have of course if anybody here does never seen the original Planet of the Apes, raise your hand because you need to go watch that because so basically
55 years ago, spoiler,
but the big spoiler, because what was so groundbreaking, I shouldn't say groundbreaking, but what was so phenomenal about the movie was people didn't realize until the very end that he was on Earth just in the future. We all thought when you watch it for the first time, if you've never heard or anything about the movie, was that he was on a planet of the apes, that he was on another planet in another solar system. And then, of course, at the end, the big reveal with the Statue of Liberty and the famous scene where he's kind of, I'm back home, you maniacs. We've all quoted that. You blew it up. And it's been, how many movies have taken, in a comedy way, have taken that scene and redone it in some way or another.
That is a very, very oft quote.
Which is, Spaceballs was kind of the funnier one with the ship crashing. It kind of looks like the Statue of Liberty. And then the apes come, oh no, Spaceballs. So that was, of course, very, there was a big deal. People were shocked, oh my God, he was on Earth the whole time.
The first movie was fantastic.
Well, and there was
you have Charlton Heston as the lead. So, I mean, right there, I mean, he was the guy in that, come on, he was Moses.
And
there was no social media to telegraph that.
And there was no social media.
No, I mean, we didn't have that for a lot of movies.
Well, true, but
But
the first movie was intended to be a standalone movie. They never meant for it to have one.
No, the writer did write a sequel to it.
Yeah, they wrote it up, but only after asked by the studio.
Yeah, but they didn't.
It was based on. I can tell you what it was based on. Oh, yeah. It was based on Boulet's Planète des Singes. If you're wondering who Pierre Boulet is, he wrote La Pont de la Rivière Kwai, which is the bridge on the River Kwai. So, yeah, he has a fantastic writing pedigree and had already cranked out a really good movie. So, yeah, doing Planète des Singes was pretty smart, actually.
So the other thing they didn't do in the original film is they never really, well, because we don't know it's Earth until the end of how the apes. We assume that because man bombed itself out of existence or almost out of existence, that somehow the apes came out of the trees and
stepped into that role.
And it was because it's about 3,000 years that somehow they developed.
That's a good point. They did not yada yada the evolution of the apes. Like they never said, and then they got radioactive, and then thus became.
No, because
they didn't do that.
No,
they just
exactly.
Let it...
So what we find out later when you add the movies, the whole series of movies is one giant paradox.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because so.
Yes, it's one of these deals,
which they kind of played with in the remake with Mark Wahlberg. They kind of, because that was all
considerably closer to the book than these were, admittedly. This was quite different from the book.
Yeah, so we have, of course, Charlton Heston crashes on the planet. There's originally, 4 astronauts. The woman died before they even crashed. And then we had the one guy that died right away, and then the one guy that they cut.
Right.
They cut him. They gave him a lobotomy because he was talking.
But at the beginning, and I think I'm remembering the dialogue right, they thought they had returned to Earth.
Well, they mentioned something about the course, parabolic or hyperbolic course, or something. That they came back. But
did they understand that they had time traveled?
No.
Well, they did because they knew that they had passed through time because they had. Remember, he gets out of the ship and he read the chronometer of the clock basically on the ship, and it read 3,000 whatever it was supposed to be. So he did read it. In fact, in the second movie, when Brent is with his commander, remember the commander had been injured in the crash, and he was saying, well, the clock read 35 something, assuming that's when it broke, because when Taylor, it's like hundreds of years past, like or at least 22 years farther in, I think, or something like that, from where Taylor said he was. Mm-hmm. So we assumed the clock, but they stuck that in. The clock broke so that it stopped reading time, so that it matched up.
It's a little fuzzy.
It's a little fuzzy.
They're a little fuzzy on there.
But he knew that he was probably potentially where Taylor was, because that's where they came to look for in the second film.
Yeah, that was the whole point.
I think it's interesting that they got a guy. No, they did have several actors for Beneath the Planet of the Apes that was supposed to play the main role.
Did he not just look exactly like Charlton?
That was one of the reasons they picked him.
Looked alike.
That was one of the reasons they picked him, was because he looked like Charlton Heston. But they had other actors in mind initially for that. Than James Franciscus. Trying to think of who the heck did they have?
Oh, do I have
it written down somewhere? But
well, you're checking.
Burt Reynolds, I think, was considered actually at the time. Yep. And but again, they picked Franciscus because he kind of looks like Charlton Heston.
And then instead, Connery made Zardoz. He could have made Planet of the Apes, but he didn't.
I always come back to Zardoz. I don't know how that's. It's like a
Zardoz is a thing. So this was 1968. The budget was $6 million, and it made $33 million. And I can tell you the other ones as we get to them, which was pretty good. I mean, that was success right there.
Yeah, I mean, it was huge. Obviously, the fact they made, and it took the second
Beneath. No, John Haig says Beneath is the best. John, I disagree.
No, I'm sorry. I gotta disagree with you on that one too, as well. I think the original is always the best.
Skip Beneath, and the last one, Battle.
Beneath was good. I liked the way they it should have ended there in a lot of ways. At least it did, kind of, because of course, again, spoiler alert, at the end they blow the planet up. Well, I guess Taylor does it on purpose. I guess he realizes that
Taylor does on purpose.
He recognized that as the doomsday bomb.
And
and that it would potentially catch the atmosphere on fire. Which, remember, that was always going way all the way back to the Manhattan Project when they were first developing atomic weapons.
Yep.
They didn't know what was going to happen if they set that thing off. That was always a worry that it might do something like that, like literally set up some kind of chain reaction and destroy the planet. But they did it anyway.
They did it anyway. Well,
So,
the same thing with the Large Hadron Collider, but hey, you know what?
Right, there was some of that, but so at the very end of the film, which is what I liked about the end of this film, it says in one of the countless billions of galaxies in the universe lies a medium-sized star, and one of its satellites, a green and insignificant planet, is now dead.
Yeah, I love that. I love it. Come on. And that, kids, should have been it. But the writers were like, blow up.
The writers, the movie execs were like, we're going to keep riding this cash cow.
We're like, blow up, show up. We still have monkey costumes. Let's do it.
And a TV series.
Right.
And the TV series went until 1974.
Still.
But that was after the last film, which
Beneath was 1970. Its budget was $3 million, half of what the first one was. The first one was $6 million. This budget was $3 million. It pulled in $19 million. So
it was only a year later that the TV series came out.
Yeah, the last movie was 73, and the TV show came out.
I remember watching the TV show.
I have no memory of the TV show.
I remember watching the TV show. I had
a cartoon. Yes, John and Kevin Sharp. You're right. There was also a cartoon. And there's also been comic books, graphic novels.
I tend to conflate some of the TV series with some of the movies, so pardon me if that happens.
Regular novels, probably video games for all I know. I don't know. And of course, all the reboots, with Andy Serkis as Caesar.
Right. Yeah. I have not. The only one I've seen of the modern ones is the Mark Wahlberg, the first one.
I've seen the Mark.
Oh, the other ones are worth it, Rizzo.
Which got Charlton Heston in that one, if you remember.
Yeah, the Mark Wahlberg one is a monkey powder to blow it to hell, but the other ones are not horrible.
So here's one of the things. Here's one of the things I noticed throughout all 5 films. Okay, we have gorillas, right? We have the orangutans. We have the chimpanzees.
Yep.
The only ones we ever see females are chimpanzees.
Oh, good point. There's no.
Which explains why the gorillas are so pissed off all the time.
How are they?
That's a really great point.
Clearly, there's no mixing of the.
And fascinatingly, for a movie that had very heavy socio-racial commentary, they did observe that on break when you went to lunch, the chimps sat with the chimps, the orangs sat with the orangs.
That kind of that did happen on set, and that was not. Yeah, John, I agree with you. I think the TV show has gotten a bad rap over the years. But you have to remember when it was made. It was 1974. Yep. All those shows sucked then.
Right in the middle of our
we liked them because they have a nostalgic, but they were not cutting edge by any means.
No. Did anybody find Beneath reminded them of Star Trek? There was something about it that reminded me.
Maybe because they did stuff at Vasquez Rocks.
Maybe Beneath was the one. It was just something about the way they introduced these telepathic humans living underneath. Like there was something very Star Trekian about it.
Yeah, it does kind of look like Telosians. It was very
underground.
That's where you're getting it from. It was Telosians.
I don't know.
And obviously they're fascists, so patterns of force and
and they become weird zealots like.
So
anyway, so that's what happens Beneath. So we have the other astronauts go looking for Taylor. The only one of them lives. He ultimately finds. Nova, who's his girlfriend.
Yep.
Who, by the way, she no, I'm sorry, I'm getting her mixed up with Dr. the other Zira.
That was Linda Harrison.
Yeah. She didn't want to do the film again because of the makeup.
Yeah.
She didn't want to do the second film.
Oh no, Linda was used. They did a proof of concept, and it was Josh Brolin of all people. Josh Brolin, Linda Harrison, who played Nova. They played Cornelius and Zira. And they were in the makeup, and then when it came time to actually, they're like, okay, this works, we'll do it. They recast Josh Brolin, of course, and they recast Linda, but they kept Linda as Nova, and they just put Kim Hunter in as Zira.
Good job, Martin. Ape should not kill ape.
Ape shall not kill. Well, that again, we go. So we get to the second movie. Okay, so how do you have a third movie when they blew up the Earth or destroyed the atmosphere of the Earth in the
look,
second movie. So we go back to 1970s Earth, which always amazed me that we had apparently shortly after the Apollo era, we have spaceships that can go off outside the solar system. But
once they discovered the flux capacitor, it was elementary.
Back in the 60s and 70s, sci-fi was very optimistic about what we would accomplish in the very near future.
In the distant future of 1997.
So it starts again with a spaceship crashing, but of course it's the 70s, and what gets out of the spaceship is Cornelius and Zira.
Yeah.
They apparently somehow escaped at the last minute. They said they saw the Earth destroyed.
In the rear view, yeah.
In the rear view mirror. And they went backwards in time because they followed the thing and
to try to save
before. Well, no, they ended up there after Taylor left. So shortly after he left, I guess, and obviously after Brent left. So that's how we got. That whole clearly the budget on that one must have been pretty low because there was really no special effects other than the makeup.
No, Escape was $2 million, so we've gone from $6 million to $3 million down to $2 million, and it raked in $12 million. So yes, the budget is going
the thing
down.
Is, if you look at these movies, they're all like an hour and 25 minutes.
Yeah, they're really short. Like really short. Like the plot just it's very like goes right along.
So basically, these two, and they're of course. The greatest thing about this film and the next film is we have Ricardo Montalban.
Yes, I really enjoyed his character Armando.
Yeah, he plays kind of a zoo
hero.
Circus owner, and he ends up saving them, of course, because they end up telling the government, so to speak, what happened and why the apes became to power. So we find out now that, and this is the really weird part of this. This is how they got there. There was a weird virus brought back from space, and all the dogs and cats apparently died as a result of this virus, so that humans didn't have pets. So we somehow domesticated the ape or the monkeys or whatever.
And apparently goldfish were not an option.
They developed into walking, talking, or not talking, but servants. We made a slave race of them. There's kind of definitely. And we're okay with them being a slave race, apparently.
Never, ever uplift a race with opposable thumbs. That's all I'm saying.
So anyway,
don't uplift the raccoons.
Here we have. But here's the thing: mankind knows that in the year whatever that the apes we will destroy the Earth. Finally, we knew that they knew everything that pretty much that somehow something was going to go wrong. The apes were going to take over. And yet they did it anyway. Like they developed because, why would you do that? You knew what was going to happen.
It's in the script.
Yeah, I know.
You needed it for the movie to happen.
Yeah.
Well, that was like, but
that's my niggle with
their to be pregnant so that they can realize.
Right. So Zira's pregnant with obviously, and they think they were going to kill the baby.
Did anybody else?
That was their big plan. They're going to kill them all of them so that they don't make intelligent.
Yeah, no, we have intelligent ones.
So, but of course they fake it, and they murdered the poor little chimpanzee that was, or ape or whatever that was born.
How did she convince the other chimp mother? Hey, you want to trade babies? Like, how does that work? And B, I felt really
greater good.
I did, yeah. It was like so. Anyway, so the baby of Cornelius and Zira live and grows up, and of course he's hiding.
With Armando.
They don't want to know that
Armando.
With Ricardo Montalban's character. So that's the basic. And then of course, unfortunately, Cornelius and Zira get killed at the end of the third film.
Which was very sad.
Brings us to Conquest.
Conquest.
Now we move forward. I don't know how many years, maybe only like 10, 20 years.
Yeah, because he's still with Armando. He's grown up, but he's still with Armando. So
grown up, but in that time, we've developed a whole.
Yes, we've taught
all these apes and we've domesticated these apes. Somehow brought them from being animals.
And I'm going to be honest, I don't think I'm going to let a chimpanzee cut my hair right now. I mean, I saw the beginning of Nope.
Yeah, it was really weird. I think they should have, in my opinion, moved the timeline farther forward than just it's still the 1970s or now it's the 1980s or whatever.
He hadn't named himself yet. He's still a young adult.
Yeah, so you figure I don't know what
He's
their
18?
age but you figure say he's around 18 in this.
He's a late teen. I'm gonna say he's a late teen into his early 20s in this.
Yeah, early 20s. So I don't know. I just it didn't the timeline didn't jive with me very well. But again, it was nice to
They could have jumped a couple generations and have
this is when the movie gets into the meat of these movies. This is when Caesar, he picks his name Caesar, and he stands up and says, "You have enslaved us. No, we're gonna revolt." That
because they were being so cruel.
They're very cruel
to them, very cruel, and of course teaching them no, like they literally had like these correction centers where they were like torturing them.
And then
yeah.
So this movie, the budget was 1.7 million, so we're down even a little bit, and it raked in 9.7. So it raked in.
Right.
So yeah, this I of the 5, I like the first one and this one.
Really?
Yes. I mean, I liked Escaped. It was fun to see Zero dressed in regular clothes and Zero, because Zero is just sharp, and I like Zero. I like her. But of the two, if you want the the racial commentary and the socio-political, because there was also political commentary in here too. These two, these two, the original and Conquest.
Yeah, I buy that.
Yeah. John Haig, make another. John Haig, you missed my opening news segment. There is another one coming. Estimated date is May 24, 2024. It's Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. Principal photography is finished, we think.
Oh, no kidding.
We don't know.
Just leaves all the CGI.
Everything is so CGI in those films. How much principal
photography? Yeah, right. How much principal photography could there be? That's why it's not due out till another 2 years from now.
We're not keeping you up, are we? Here?
No. Sorry, I got some stuff to do. But
stuff to do anyway. So so we get so they revolt eventually, which is kind of interesting. They collect as things start to, like, I guess it's Caesar, who is again played by Roddy McDowall. Now, incidentally, Roddy McDowall is in every single film except Beneath.
Right.
He's only in Beneath in the clips that they showed at the beginning that show you clips from the first movie. The guy that actually played him, it was a different actor.
Yeah, Cornelius was someone different.
Yeah.
Did he do the voiceover though? Did they hire him for that?
Roddy played.
He wasn't really
in it at all.
He's not really in it because they only see Zira and that's it. We only see Zira, I think.
No, Cornelius in the first one. No,
the second one.
The second one, Escape.
Yeah, because Roddy couldn't do the film he had at a previous,
Right.
No, Roddy's in Escape, isn't he?
No.
Roddy's not in the first one.
Beneath. I'm talking. He's not in Beneath.
Oh, he's not Beneath. Oh, I didn't know that. I thought he was in.
No, the only time you see him in Beneath is that it's actually him is in the clips that they show you.
Okay,
yeah, the flashbacks. Yeah, he couldn't do it, but this was a really big part of his career because he would like literally dress up, like he would stay in makeup on his way home and like freak people out on the freeway.
Yep.
I like Roddy. I love Roddy's eyes in this.
And he would I guess he did a thing on the Carol Burnett show and he actually went in full Cornelius costume.
You were saying,
unbeknownst to Carol Burnett.
You were saying they did not have a makeup category for the Oscars back then, but they gave them a special Oscar. Admittedly, the mouths are not right. The mouths do not move right, but the eyes were fantastic. To this day, those eyes, the eye makeup stands up.
I think the makeup works still today. Honest to God, even though I know the new ones.
If you change a chimp's mouth enough that he could speak and form letters, his lips would have to be mobile.
Yeah, they would have to be
in the costume.
Yeah,
but that's only because they couldn't.
Probably make why they CGI'd, the new stuff.
Yeah.
Well, the new ones, I mean, they're monkeys. I mean, they're monkeys. The new ones. I mean, they're clearly, there's so much. But
I feel.
Considering the makeup job they did on these, I think it works. It sells it.
Absolutely.
I think, and the fact they got the gorillas that look significantly different. The orangutans look significantly different. You could tell that the chimpanzees were chimpanzees. The gorillas were gorillas.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? I think they did a really good job, and I still think it works. Now, maybe I'm old and nostalgic, and I still love those original films.
Even to the point of walking on their hands and stuff.
Yeah.
With that...
Even to the point of walking on the backs of their hands.
Yeah, I mean they did.
And actors stayed in character throughout. Because I was watching during the battle. I was like looking at extras. Who's gonna drop Chimp? who's going to drop chimp. Nope, they all stayed chimp throughout the entire thing.
They also told them to like twitch and have ticks and things.
Yeah, Roddy had really good ticks, and they would do that little,
make it more really that it wasn't just a mask. Now, when they got to Beneath, a lot of the extras were just wearing ape masks, like makeup. Whereas in the full movie, the extras, they did the full blown. There was a lot of makeup work on that film.
Yeah.
So,
but they kept our primaries in full makeup throughout.
Oh yes.
Which was hours of application.
I'm talking about the extras. The extras were, especially during battle when they're so far away. Clearly they went for battle. They went to the back lot and picked up all the old World War II crap from Patton or something. And
what we got laying around?
I was like waiting for a half.
It was like in the very last movie, they had like
there was a half track.
No, it was like a truck. It didn't actually have tracks.
Oh well.
I was looking for it this time around. The second.
It felt like a half
track.
So
it's interesting because I, as a kid, never saw these movies in order.
Neither did I.
I saw the first one and but then all the other movies were always on like Channel 11 or late at night, and they just would randomly show them. So I never really realized how connected they all were. Even I knew that Conquest and Escape were connected. Yeah. But the other ones, I had no idea that it was still following the same plot line.
Yeah.
So obviously at the end of Conquest, there's a huge rebellion and the humans are losing, which again, I get they don't really explain too much because it was just one compound. And you got to think humans still probably had to outnumber the.
I would think they had better communications.
So and I would think, and we don't know, but they didn't imply that the nuclear war was a result of the rebellion. That there was still something else that caused that.
Yes.
So
human on human.
Yeah. Well, not necessarily. We don't know. They did imply that there was still. I think if I remember correctly, they did imply that there were some tensions within nations. So that might have been unrelated or somehow positive. I don't know, because why would you bomb? I mean, it just seems kind of, again, that doesn't make any sense. Why would you bomb cities out of existence to get rid of?
Yeah, I don't know.
Your servant
yourself. You're gonna start bombing yourself? That doesn't make any sense. So anyway, at the end of that, we know that the apes are definitely on the upsurge, and then we move forward another
jump.
A good jump because they've created that little hippie commune.
Well, Caesar's still around.
Yeah, Caesar's still around, but he's
maybe another 20 years.
An old child with a 7, 8, 9-year-old child.
Maybe we've gone as 20 years. I don't know if it actually says, if anybody knows. So now there's been this war. The human race is, but some humans and apes are living together.
Yeah, Caesar's
sort of harmony.
Is trying to live with McDonald's.
They're trying to live that way, but it's not really working too good because the gorillas are just wanting to make war all the time, and then they find that there's humans.
As gorillas do.
There's still humans living in the basement of this
bombed out
city, which I guess is supposed to be like New York. Is it New York? No. I think
the impression
it's not necessarily New York.
It's like Orem, Utah, somewhere weird like that, like somewhere out west for some reason.
Beneath was New York because he found all the.
That's right, because there's street signs. Yeah, you're right.
And all that stuff, and of course that would make sense because if Taylor found the Statue of Liberty, it would all be in the same area,
right?
So it made more sense that they were, but we don't know. We assume it's somewhere nearby because how far would Caesar traveled? I don't know.
I don't know.
They don't need. It's not necessary to explain that part.
Yeah.
So eventually, the apes find out that there's these humans. The humans find out that there's apes because apparently, for all this time, they didn't know the other one was living in a radioactive, bombed out city. The other one is living in a kind of a forest, sort of. I guess you'd call it a I don't know, pocket that didn't get destroyed. And so the humans are going after the apes. The apes were going to go after the humans, but the humans got there first, and then had the battle for the planet.
The big battle with the school bus.
With the school buses, school bus of people. Yeah, the little weird little hats that they wore. I don't know what.
And they all looked alike. They all had the decency to look alike, so we could tell who they were. That they were the bad guys.
Yeah, so it's
the bad guys were black.
From the good humans from the bad humans.
Yeah, the good humans and the bad humans.
And there was another Star Trek actor.
Oh, I have a lot of roads. I have a lot of roads tonight, but the one you're thinking of is France.
France. Yep, France.
France Nguyen.
Yep, Nguyen is in it. She doesn't have a huge part, but she's there.
No, not much, but she's there. And Culp and McDonald are holdovers from the last movie, right? They're holdovers from Conquest.
Yes, John, you're right. The humans were already dying they're aware of it from the radiation.
That's true. Although McDonald got recast. Don't know why.
What's that?
McDonald, the one character I like, the one human character I like, got recast from one movie to the other.
Yeah, you think it played his brother, right? It said something like, my brother was...
Oh, did they?
You're talking about the black guy that was like the assistant to the governor. Yep. Yeah, he said something like, my brother was governor so-and-so's whatever the hell he was.
Okay.
So yeah,
I thought it was him. I thought it was.
Yeah, the actors look very much alike.
They do look alike. The battle guy was a little bit fairer, but yes, they did look quite a bit. But I enjoyed both of their performances. I just enjoyed the character. I liked the McDonald character. I thought it was the same guy, but. Oh, well.
By the way, how about those rifles? I wanted one of those so bad when I was a kid.
Oh, what, the ape rifles?
Yeah, the M1s. They were perfect. Easy to use with one hand because the apes can't ride and shoot at the same time. Just so cool.
Yeah.
So anyway.
They did the best they could with those props on a budget of a mere $1.6 million. They did rake in almost $8.8 million.
So the movies they made money on them, even though they each got kind of worse as they went on.
They did get worse. But they got worse, and yet they still made a valiant effort to keep their little narrative alive.
Well, I mean, it was like you really watch it, like it's like if you watch like the last 3 movies all together, it's like really you're just watching one Marvel movie.
It is kind of one big giant movie, yeah.
It's like one Marvel movie because you're only in it for like what 3.5 hours.
Yeah,
you
can binge it.
Way of water.
A Marvel film.
So since we mentioned, can I do all roads real quick?
Yeah, do all roads.
We do have a lot of roads. Where's the beginning of the roads? Here we go. Frances, we already talked about her. Ricardo, of course. God. Side note, before I get back to the actors, there is a Star Trek Planet of the Apes crossover. It's called The Primate Directive. It's a comic book series produced by IDW Comics. It came out between December 2014 and April 2015, but that's not what we're talking about right now. Oh, also, side note, Mark Leonard, who played best known as Sark, played Urko, the chief of security on that 1974 Planet of the Apes TV show. Yep. And they did that TV show was struggling, and they called Gene Roddenberry. They brought him in for a consult. And he was like, call Westheimer Optical. He did the effects for Star Trek, and we're going to do this. We're going to do opticals and mats and special effects, and we're going to give the show a big epic look. But whatever he did, the show didn't make it.
Well, anyway, back to the TV just doesn't have that kind of budget for that.
No, it really doesn't.
It just, it's what killed Battlestar Galactica.
Yeah.
It wasn't that this show wasn't a bit popular. It just wasn't popular enough to warrant what it cost to make.
But back to our roads. William Wyndham. Now we know William best as Commodore Matt Decker on Doomsday Machine. He has his own Charlton Heston-esque mad scene. Yep. In Doomsday Machine, he played the president in Escape. Yep. James Gregory played Tantalus director Tristan Adams in Dagger of the Mind.
Yep.
And he is the one. He played General Ursus, the gorilla who says the only good human is a dead human in Beneath Planet of the Apes. He got called out. I was looking at a review, and he got called off. He did a particularly excellent job under his makeup. They say the quote from the thing I was reading: Gregory tosses off a grandiose tour de force from the top of a horse. His eyes under the gorilla makeup are a wonder in the scene where Dr. Zayas steals his glory by bravely confronting the bleeding lawgiver. He's really primal. He is feral. He is an ape among apes. And then finally, my other road tonight was Jason Evers. He played in Escape E2. I cannot for love of money think which one E2 was. He played Rael in Wink of an Eye, and I can't for love of money think of the Wink of an Eye right now. Who is this guy?
That's the guy.
The one that Scotty drinks under the table.
No, you're thinking of that's Rose. That's Rose by any other name. Wrong episode. Wink of an Eye was the one where they're sped up.
Yeah.
Yeah, the one.
Scotty doesn't drink anybody under the table now. Oh. You're thinking of Rose by any other.
He's right. One of the ones is with the girl and they speed him up. Yeah, I kind of remember now. I know which one he is. I can't think of who he is. E2 and Escape. I don't know.
Whatever. I don't know what he is in Escape. I'd have to see. But I know who he is in Star Trek. He's the head. He was the head guy, the leader of the Telosians.
Oh yeah.
So anyway, so that movie pretty much again ends with a battle and it really it kind of just leaves it that again we're kind of heading for what we find when Taylor gets there, but that is remember thousands of years into the future from battle.
Very end of battle. There's that.
But I guess it sets you on the road that this is how they got there.
Yeah. And at the end of battle, that the very epilogue of battle is 600 years from Caesar's death, and there's a statue of Caesar. So we presume that from there we get to
right. Okay, yeah. So it's right. Is it?
Us making the circle complete. We have.
Well, no, yeah, right. At the end, they have that fast forward.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I thought you meant the whole movie was. I'm like, no, it's not that.
No, the whole 5.
Yeah. So overall, I mean, that's kind of the rough plot of the 5 movies. Again, it's kind of it's a paradox.
Huge paradox.
Because you figured the only way we got apes that were intelligent speaking, sort of, I guess, was because Sierra and Cornelius.
We brought them a time travel spaceship.
But did they see? Because I still say they must have developed the apes. The speaking part of the apes was from them, but no, that doesn't make any sense either. It doesn't make any sense.
They were already trying to uplift them to make them better servants.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. So they must have developed the ape, the walking, talking ape, or walking. I shouldn't say talking, but the semi-intelligent ape. To be a servant to replace dogs and cats, because that's what we were using dogs and cats for as our servants. They're doing
we are their servants.
Like suddenly we have a dog.
Yeah. Let me tell you, around here you'd wonder who the owner is and who the pet is, because every time they ring or something, I got to get up and go do something for them.
What was the plot hole? Did you say that you noticed a plot hole?
Well, the plot hole was the whole point of the humans knowing.
Oh, yes.
Their future, and yet still it chose to ignore it and
still teach you.
Maybe the lesson is that you can't change. You can't change time, even if you know it's future. That that's been a kind of that it would self-correct one way or the other if you tried to fix it.
The timeline shall will out.
Which we kind of learned in Loki. Remember?
It was the 70s. Leave it alone, says John Haig.
Yeah.
Cut hair.
Yeah, I mean. It's not a movie you want. Any of them you don't want to pick apart.
No, just taking what they are.
No, you don't. And yet they had, like I said, there was racial commentary, political commentary on evolution. Like they had some heavy ideas kind of woven through, like little silver threads in their tapestry, in their otherwise rough tapestry. Like the no wonder this thing is still alive and kicking today. No wonder they've made all the new movies that they're making. No wonder one's in post-production right now. Like there was some intelligent commentary happening in all 5 of these.
Clearly there was, and again, this came out during this.
Oh, like Vietnam was.
Well, they had Vietnam, but you also had civil rights movement going on.
Did you notice how similar? They're protesting and they're turning the hoses on them. Like
I mean, there's a lot of parallels of the time that were going on.
A lot of parallels of the time.
So there was a lot of political commentary in these films. Again, it's always the paranoia of certain people, in Escape, the reason that that one guy decided, they need to die because that's how we're going to save our future, which clearly, was the wrong choice because his own paranoia. If they had nurtured that instead of tried to kill, we don't know what would have developed differently.
It was actually really interesting in Escape because at first they had that presidential commission, and at first the president was like, they viewed them as this really fascinating little oddity, but nothing worrisome, nothing dangerous. It wasn't until they realized she was pregnant, then suddenly they're like, oh wait, Wait. Let's
well, and that's kind of why we went down that path, because we didn't believe them when they said this is what happens in the future.
Yeah, exactly.
We never do. You can be Cassandra screaming on the steps.
Yeah.
But there was the one guy that was like the mean guy in Escape that was really the one driving force to have them terminated.
I can tell you who that is.
Is it Dr. Otto?
Is it Dr. Otto?
His last name's Octavius.
Bradford Dillman? No, sorry, Eric Bradeen.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Bradford Dillman played the nice guy, the nice.
Right, he was the vet.
Yeah,
they were both vets. That was I thought was kind of funny. I mean, but it made sense. They're both veterans.
Got a vet on the good side and you bet on the bad side.
Natalie Trundy and Bradford Dillon they were vets. One was he was a veterinary psychologist, I think which is I don't know. I guess do you need your dogs and cats psychoanalyzed?
I don't know. Maybe it's.
Can they tell me why my bearded dragon is disdainful and aloof?
Well, it's just because he's your bearded dragon.
Oh, I see.
You see, and he's like he thinks you're trying to mock him with your beard.
Sure, he likes to snuggle my beard.
Right.
So does our new conure. We have a new bird. Loves to just nuzzle right in there and.
I'll stick with dogs.
Doesn't pull it out though, does she?
Well, once in a while.
Ouch.
I'll stick with dogs, right, Rip? Mine's right there.
Yeah, mine too.
She's right there. She's always under my desk.
I'm feeling outnumbered and oppressed. Those of us with alternate.
Do we need a zoologist, psychologist now? Is that what we need?
Yes.
So anyway, I guess we're off topic again. Go figure. We're talking about dogs now. We're talking about dogs. So I think have we covered all of them? I mean, we kind of went
to enough detail.
I mean, we've gone the plot's kind of like I said, they do intertwine. I know that, like I said, for the second film, Heston did not want to do it. Heston didn't believe in he didn't believe in sequels to begin with, and he donated his entire salary to charity.
Yeah, and he said, "I'll do it, but you got to kill me off. I'm not doing this." Kill me up.
Right.
And so the writers were smart they split his little cameo. They made the little tiny bit at the beginning, little tiny bit, and then the bulk of it was at the end.
Well, so, that was right, because he sees the part where he goes through the illusion of the wall. Right. That
he disappears right in front of Nova, and she doesn't reach. She doesn't even
Well, she's not.
She's just
she's I mean, she's just kind
wandering back, and then she finds.
I mean, you figured. The thing that cracks me up, with Linda Harrison is she only had the very last when she finally says Taylor kind of croaks it. That's her. I mean, she doesn't have to. Her acting was all with her eyes.
Yeah,
she's a beautiful girl. Apparently in the Wasteland, you still have makeup, hair, and makeup.
Yes, she's a beautiful girl.
So she's very beautiful.
Down in her loincloth, she was.
Yeah. She didn't need to act. Just need.
That's interesting. She barely said one. And then at the end of Conquest, the one female chimp. Says no or something, and it's supposed to be a big turning point. Because I was thinking about that, because that's at that moment only Caesar could talk, and I kept waiting because they had taught those other chimps a lot. I waited for them to try to mimic speech, and then the one does. And so I think that's supposed to be the moment where and then they developed language.
Yep.
And that's all. And then we're done. As soon as the chimps develop language, we're done for, guys. Right time.
Pretty much, which is why you don't want to do this. But we've seen this theme. I mean, this theme in sci-fi where we have a slave race that was developed, whether it's a machine or it's some kind of bioengineered thing, and they become slaves, and then it's okay apparently.
Well, it's another theme that we will always create our own destruction.
Yes,
that too,
and deservedly so. We are idiots, and I enjoy when a movie points that out to us.
Idiots with thermonuclear weapons.
Idiots with thermonuclear weapons. Would you like to play
Maniacs? Blew it up.
Blew it all up.
Damn you. God damn you all to hell. Still great. One of the best scenes of all time.
Yep.
That movie standalone, fabulous.
And I'm sure the director said, okay, now at this point, if there's scenery in reach, I want you to grab it and chew it immediately because that's gonna sell this at the end.
Yeah. So, yeah, it was very impactful the first time you see it. If you didn't know that.
If you didn't know it was coming. I
don't really remember the first time I saw the film.
I had seen the scene, but without it in context, I didn't understand. And then when you finally put the whole thing together,
yeah, I don't know because I didn't see the movie because remember this came out. I was a year old.
This was one of these movies that, like, not during Creature Double Feature, but like WLVI Channel 56 here in Boston would play movies like on a Saturday, and it was always the Apes movies and Creature Double Feature movies. Like,
I think I saw this in a theater in like a third or fourth run hole in the wall thing. It was a Saturday matinee. Your parents would drop you off, pay $5 or whatever, and you got to watch as many movies as you could sit through before.
The funny thing is, I remember as a kid liking this stuff because I loved, like, I had to watch the TV show, but I don't know if I ever saw any of the films before I watched the TV show. You know, because I would only have been about, was that 74? So I was only barely 7 years old. So, you know, I might have seen something on television in a rerun. I don't know. Yeah, I don't really remember. It just was always just there. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. It was like one of those things where it's just there.
It's there, yeah.
But I remember I had a couple of the action figures for the
Planet of the Apes. The Star Trek ones, the Mika ones.
There was the same ones. They look very similar to Klingons.
Yep.
Monkeys, Klingons. Phil's saying, yeah, the theme where they wreck the Statue of Liberty. Yeah, movies love to destroy the Statue of Liberty.
Yeah, it's always, I guess, well, it makes sense. It's very iconic. Everybody, I assume everybody in the world, maybe I'm being very narcissistic when I say this, but knows what that is. If they see it, they recognize it.
Sure.
So it's a very recognizable thing, and it's a very symbolic if you see it destroyed. That
exactly,
it's Western civilization. It's a representation that Western civilization has fallen.
It's just like the Eiffel Tower in Paris. All the aliens, the meteors.
That's always one of the things that gets destroyed is the Eiffel Tower.
Well, it's like an Independence Day
in London. It's always Big Ben in London.
Big Ben,
yeah. So it's always one of those iconic.
And the Kremlin.
Yeah. So
Kremlin always bites it.
Yeah. White House.
Yep.
Bruce is saying the apes makeup was everywhere. See, I don't remember a lot of apes makeup or apes masks, like for Halloween and stuff. You mean?
Probably. I mean, I remember the Halloween costumes, of course, we had as kids were horrid. Those terrible
plastic that felt like a garbage bag.
Yeah, and then
it just said Planet of the Apes.
It wasn't even remotely like it just had a picture of like the movie or something like picture of it.
Yeah.
It wasn't like an actual outfit, just a mask.
And the one-sided plastic mask with two eye holes and a nose.
Right, it was terrible. They're awful. They're really. You always wanted as a kid. You were like, why can't I have like a skeleton costume that's like actual?
Don't Post Studios sell apes masks. I don't know, Phil. I know that the first ape makeup was done by what's his bucket? The same guy that made Spock ears. Hang on, what's his bucket?
Steve Neal.
No,
not
him. I want to say
made a promotion picture. Sorry.
Bruce is saying for award shows, for comedy shows, everywhere. Yeah, it was on a lot of stuff at that time.
John,
you're right.
Chambers? Yeah, Chambers. I should have known that because we had a Chambers too. And did you guys notice they did the hear no evil, speak no evil, see no evil?
Yeah.
Well, it is almost 8:00, so we're going to start wrapping this up because I do like to keep everything to an hour as we can. Obviously, the first movie's great. The other movies are good. They're easy watches. So if you haven't seen them all, but of course, watch them in that order because that's really makes more sense. Obviously,
watch them in universe order.
So much more sense.
At least watch. You got to watch from Escape through Beneath in the correct order, not Beneath Battle for.
Yeah, the order is.
And of course, we can't forget about Requiem for Planet of the Apes.
Battle. Yeah, no. Well, Roy will get to tell us all about Requiem. Next Friday.
That was from 5/25, 77. The kid was going to make Requiem for the Planet of the Apes.
Yeah.
Which the name of that is perfect. We would think that would be like that would be a name for a great movie.
Because what do we have now? War for Planet of the Apes and Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes.
It just fits this Requiem for the Planet of the Apes.
Epitaph. Epitaph for the Planet.
Epitaph for the Planet of the Apes.
Oh, excuse me.
Smoking crater of the Planet of the
Sorry.
Apes.
Actually, that is Roy is doing that Friday.
That is what's Roy is doing 525.77. Roy, spoiler, if you go ahead and contact Patrick Reed Johnson, he'll probably come on the show for you. Like he's a really chill dude. Which, spoiler alert, that's a great movie. And if you haven't seen it yet, please check it out. It was a really, really cute movie.
I gotta watch that one.
Yeah,
you do need to watch that one. It was cute. Phil did not have anything for me to promote tonight. So do we?
I haven't picked anything for next week yet.
We have not chosen what we're gonna do next week.
Nope. I was lazy. I was going over the rather extensive list that you did send me, because
I did send you a long list.
You do very well with that.
I do keep track.
And let's see. I don't know. What do you guys want to do?
Do you guys want, or is this a Halloween one? Because if it's a Halloween one, just tell me. On January 25 is the 20-year anniversary of the Mothman Prophecies, which is one of my favorite movies. If you guys want to see that, let us know. Well, if you don't, that's okay too. That's fine. It starred Richard Gere, and
there's a lot of good stuff on this list. That's the problem.
Number 37.
So
yeah.
Starship Troopers. We had talked about doing that a lot. War games.
War games.
Yeah. We could do war
Would
games.
you like to play a game? How about a nice game of chess?
Dabney Coleman and the guy who plays the Air Force General are magnificent in that movie.
I want to play global thermonuclear war.
So dated. It's kind of dated by today's standards.
It's very dated by today's
It's a good movie, though, in its own right.
Yeah, you can't fake out a payphone by grounding out
I have the Phantom on.
The Phantom's on our list. That's definitely, we're going to do that, Chris. One of these days, we're going to.
Chris, not only do I have the Phantom on the list, but I actually wrote the Phantom with Chris LaRoche.
She did. It's there.
It's there.
She did. She wrote that.
Because when we
anyway, I'll figure something out. If you guys feel free to post up what you want us to do. We did Big Trouble in Little China.
We did it.
Done. Did it almost a year ago. I think it was right around wintertime last year. So, all right. On that note, then, I will say good night. Kent, thanks for braving your cold or whatever you have and sticking with us. And Mary Beth as well. Thanks for all your help, as always. It's always
thanks for bearing
with this without you. So we'll see you guys next week with something. I don't know. We'll
let you know as early as we can.
But
War Games is an easy one. We could do that one.
What's that?
War Games is an easy one. We could pop that right out.
Yeah, we can do that with our eyes closed.
I'll come up with something. I have to let it percolate.
We should have like a theme and a plan.
I usually get like oh, let's do this, and like it'll just pop in my head.
Yeah.
So, anyway, we're a mess. Anyway. Good night, folks. Live long and prosper. We'll see you next week.
Good night, all.